Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Wannabe Network. I am your host, Gabriel Fast, this evening, and joining me are my two friends, my two co-hosts for tonight, one Ethan Maestri and one Elijah Middlesworth. Good to see you, gentlemen. We're going to be going over The Mandalorian, Chapter 19. Did anyone catch what it was called?
Ooh.
The Convert.
Oh, yeah.
The Convert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. So, obviously, Ethan, you weren't on with me and Elijah's discussion about. Sorry, I'm about to open a soda. You hear that? That's the sound of a fresh Coca-Cola going right down my gullet.
Barely over the sound of the crickets.
Yeah. Hey, there's crickets in here, all right? Just you know.
You have
Anyways.
crickets in your room?
Yeah. Ethan wasn't here last time. And, Ethan, I want to know what your general... And you haven't... we're recording right after I put out the second episode.
If I visit the planet and I can bring you proof that I have bathed in the living waters, then by creed, I would be redeemed.
There's nothing magic about the mines of Mandalore. They supplied Beskar ore to our ancestors, and the rest is superstition.
These mines date back to the age of the first Mandalore. According to ancient folklore, the mines were once a mythosaur lair.
I swear on my name and the names of the ancestors.
So what was kind of your opinion on the whole episode? Anything, that you might want to share with the class?
Great episode. Good season. That was it.
You
right?
idiot. I'm going to kill you.
They showed us everything from the previews leading up to it. So, yeah, he bathed and we know he's going to be accepted back. So, yeah, great season. I'm curious to see where they go for the rest of the 5 episodes. That was my thought, at least at the end of the second
So
one.
you're telling me it took 3 episodes for him to take a bath?
Two. He got it right
The other
there
half of the
end
bath
there.
was at the... Well, no, I guess he did get out at the end.
It's
Yeah, it was
just
too.
nice. Like, even after tonight's episode, like, I just have no idea where this is going. And it's nice. I mean, I feel like I have kind of a general idea of where they're trying to take it. So, yeah, obviously, it's kind of crazy how for me personally, that this isn't going any way. This season isn't going any way that I expected. Honestly, I thought for sure Mandalore. Yeah, dude, I thought for sure we were just gonna spend a lot of time on Mandalore for some reason, and I didn't have faith. I really didn't.
Oh, yeah,
This
you
is
were
not
a
the way
doubter.
it
Yeah, you were a doubter, weren't you?
Yeah,
It was
I
Jake
was.
that made all the right predictions.
Jake is an idiot. Do you see him here? I hate him. No, I'm just kidding. I love Jake.
Yeah, he's not only here because he was right.
So what, Ethan? What was your thoughts on the beast in the water at the end of the second episode?
Oh, I mean, that was amazing because now we know the mythosaur is no longer myth, and that was just really cool.
Yeah.
So, and the beginning of this next episode really kind of lends itself to the mystique of the creature and its meaning for people that are aware of its existence, because you see Bo-Katan questioning Din Djarin. Did you see that? Did you see something? And he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
She has a secret. How is this going to play out over the next 5 episodes that we're going to get? I'm really curious to see where they take the fact that she knows it's down there, and obviously it means a lot to their culture, and you can almost see the wheels turning inside her helmet. How am I going to parlay this into either a power play or whatever the case may be? Because from the start of that episode, I very much get the sense that Bo-Katan is still trying to do power play as a politician, as a leader of a leader of Mandalorian peoples. But at the end of it, though, and I'm sure we'll get to that in the conversation, I feel like she might be in a different place. The next 5 episodes are going to tell.
Yeah,
But all in all, a very solid second episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm really ready to talk about this third one.
Yeah, same. No, same. Yeah, and I don't want to spend too much time on the second episode, but You know a lot more about Star Wars lore than me, and me and Elijah couldn't come to a like definitive conclusion, but the mythosaur I thought was a land creature.
Honestly, I don't know enough about it and have not encountered a whole lot in the legends,
Yeah,
right? The legend.
I've never really
material.
found a definitive answer on it beforehand either.
Yeah. I mean, until more recently, we didn't even know what it was called. There was the skull on the, on Boba Fett's, armor.
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware of what it was called until more recently.
It's been the last few years easily.
Yeah. Yeah, where that lore has just kind of been mined and explored a little bit more. But, the legend stuff of old really didn't have a whole lot about it. And I did read, the Boba Fett books that were coming out back in the day, and it just wasn't talked about a whole lot. Mandalorian culture has had such a shot in the arm with the Mandalorian that didn't exist in the lore before. It was all about Boba Fett as a Mandalorian. They hadn't really figured out that there was a whole culture and story there that could be really fleshed out and become interesting like it has.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and good luck trying to find any information on it now that the episodes come out. Everything's going to be flushed and flawed with what it truly was back in the day. You're never going to get a definitive answer now.
Unless they give us like backstory, unless Bo-Katan's like, no, I saw a beast, blah, 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 blah. Because, and I want to save it maybe for a different discussion about symbolically, like what that could mean and why that might be directly connected to Bo-Katan instead of Din, because Din didn't acknowledge seeing it, just Bo-Katan did. So, yeah, definitely want to talk about it. But anyways, we pick up in the third episode right where the second episode left off.
I am redeemed.
I witnessed it. You bathed in the living waters. You are Mandalorian again. Can we leave now?
We took a hit.
Something's coming up on us fast. It looks like a squadron of TIE interceptors.
One down, one more to go.
On it.
Dogfight was pretty cool. I mean, that felt like old Star Wars to me. Like,
Totally.
I mean, we even had, the Falcons, little beeping in the cockpit of Bo-Katan's ship. It felt like legitimate old trilogy Star Wars, good versus evil, even though we can kind of question Bo-Katan's loyalties at this point in time. But it was the Empire fighting scum. It was cool. It was a nice little flashback.
As a Starfighter fan and an owner of the Fantasy Flight X-Wing game and a lot of the ships that came with it, yeah, it scratched a particular itch that I enjoy seeing that Starfighter battle. And seeing the Raider and the Naboo fighter in action, that was awesome. Yeah. Of course, the segment where she flips the ailerons, kicks the engine off, spins it, drops. I'm having flashbacks to some Elite Dangerous moves. Flight assist on, flight assist off.
Mm-hmm.
And I even said it while we were sitting on the couch watching. It's just it for a Starfighter nerd. That was you want to see more of that. Yeah. But I felt like it was just the right amount to set up their escape and the emotional stakes for Bo-Katan. Seeing her home shredded by TIE bombers, mm-hmm. and almost getting herself shredded and going for revenge. All of that was, I thought, a really good setup for leaving her in the position that she's now in of not only did she just lose her fleet and any force that was behind her as a result of losing the Darksaber, now she's lost her ancestral home. And that's gonna leave her mm-hmm. wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, that whole sequence was pretty interesting because I feel like I've just been kind of on my toes the whole time as to what they're doing with Bo-Katan. And that kind of leads us to like the next. Is there anything you guys want to say about like that whole sequence and space and everything? Or, can we move on to the next thing?
I'm so glad that Grogu has the shielded, protected... it's
a good cushion for a lot of loopholes Like,
I mean, it's almost literal plot armor, right?
Exactly.
He just flips the egg, and even if the ship goes up, he could survive.
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
He probably...
We don't have to worry about
Yeah,
Grogu.
Grogu's going to be alive for a long time. We got at least 800 more years of Grogu.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that Disney's plan all along? They're like, okay, we got 850 years of content now. They're not worried about the upcoming generation. They're worried about 10 generations.
My great
How are we going to sell Star Wars to them?
grandson.
Yeah.
God.
Diabolical.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah, the whole opening sequence was dope. Definitely got your attention. And then we transition to the most interesting part of the episode, I will say, for the next, 25 minutes or so.
I found it deeply interesting.
That scene, where we don't quite know what's going on, but we see Coruscant, and it's like, oh, Revenge of the Sith. Like, I'm getting Revenge of the Sith vibes. Like, this feels like the old Clone Wars, government.
Even some of the score was used from Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, totally. But now it's not the Empire anymore. Or it's not even, but before the Empire
Republic.
was the Empire, but it's like it's got visions of what it used to be in that moment. And it was like, I don't know, what were you guys' thoughts on that whole sequence? Ethan, you go ahead.
No, Eli turns to me and he says, "Is this the first time we've seen Coruscant since the prequels?" And I said, "Yeah, I think it is." And yeah, it was great to go back and revisit that. It felt right. It felt, exactly like what I remember seeing on screen in the theater. And even going back to Attack of the Clones, with the night scenes and the speeders, with the scientist, what was his name, Pershing, when Pershing is riding in the car back to the apartment after his big speech and everything, it all felt very reminiscent of everything we've seen before. It felt very Star Wars, like you were saying. We'll get further into it. We'll talk a little bit more about a couple other points that came up that I thought were neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it worked very well.
Laj, what'd you think of that whole sequence?
Yeah, no, I'm along the same lines. It was very reminiscent. The storyline was a good storyline. It really brought out the kind of the darker side of even the good side of things, and we can get into that a little bit more. It was really interesting being able to see, even though that the Republic now is treating these ex-Imperial soldiers with dignity and respect, they're still technically in POW camps. It's still very reminiscent of even what the Americans did to the Japanese back in World War II.
I was gonna say, it kind of felt like watching, get a ghetto a little bit, like a really comfy ghetto, and I was like, wow, that is wild. The surface level, like, oh, we're the good guys, but go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that the whole vibe I got from this, and you guys are speaking to it, and it's reinforcing it, hearing you talk about it, that I was on the right track. This is a New Republic that is shell-shocked. Yeah, this is a galaxy that's been wrecked by the Empire.
Yeah.
Palpatine had his way with everyone, and nobody wants to go back to that. In fact, they say that we're not doing things the way it used to be. Everybody is scared to death of going to the dark side, right? And all of the bad coming back and people being mistreated. They don't want to see that happen. The problem is there's such a PTSD, it looks like, from the lowest person in the New Republic to the highest person in the New Republic. Well, maybe not the highest person. They all seem pretty jerky.
I was almost drafted. Imagine me serving.
Oh, darling, that was the Empire.
Oh, my apologies. Empire, Rebels, New Republic, I can't keep track. That's why I should just keep my mouth shut.
But the ones that we met when Pershing comes out of his speech, it seemed like old Coruscant and Old Republic attitudes by the one percenters, however you want to call them. But everybody that's in a cog in the New Republic believes we're doing something better here, and we're so afraid we don't want it to become the Empire again. And you can see the New Republic making those decisions too, but the fact that they're taking all Imperial material and breaking it down and destroying
it. Doesn't matter if it's useful or not. They're going to destroy it.
Every vestige of Palpatine's reign and what he did, there is a single-minded, dogged interest in getting rid of all of it so that the galaxy can be a happy, nice place for everyone to play in. And that inherently is going to bring up some problems. You can see it. You can see the handwriting on the wall. Even if we didn't have the sequel trilogy, we would know, well, this isn't going to last very long, because that's just not human nature.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about his speech for a second and what he was talking about. So, did that speech confirm the theory that, that stuff we saw in season 2 was like research to help Palps stay alive?
I believe the pursuit of knowledge is the most noble thing someone can do. Sadly, my research was twisted into something cruel and inhumane at the behest of a desperate individual intent on using cloning technology to secure more power for himself.
The weird thing about all of this with Dr. Pershing, there's another series that's coming out with episodes right now, and I don't know if you guys are watching Bad Batch season 2.
I started it. I haven't kept up with it.
I haven't even watched the first season.
Honestly, the second season is fantastic.
Yeah, what I saw, I've liked what I've seen.
They're going places and telling stories about the dark days of the Empire, that is made my heart glad, because they're touching on things that I remember reading about in the old legends. They're bringing that stuff in with Mount Tantus and the scientists working on, we knew them in the 90s in the novels as Spartai cloning cylinders, right? They've changed a little bit in that they're taking the Camino research and they're building in Mount Tantus research facilities for cloning. And you could very much see that's where Palpatine will be reborn, or Snoke, or whatever when that is revealed. That feels like where that's happening. Pershing and his research, while it is associated with it, does not feel like it's directly linked. At least not yet. Not to me. Disney is actually doing something with where Palpatine comes from, it feels like, with what they're telling in Bad Batch. It doesn't feel like it's related to what's happening here in Mandalorian. That's just my perspective right now. And that may change over the next 5 episodes. But right now, Pershing feels like he really does feel like he was trying to do something good. And maybe Moff Gideon learns of it, separate from Palpatine, and he maybe has his own design for that. I don't know.
If Pershing was involved with Palpatine's cloning, that would make sense as to why he was involved in the capture of Grogu in the first place.
Yeah, true.
That's something to think about.
But I also feel like it could be something else as well. But what that is, I'm not ready to speculate on that yet. But it just, so far, we have 2 series coming out. And I granted they're in different eras, but the way Bad Batch is presenting Palpatine's designs on cloning versus what Pershing was working on here, we don't know what Pershing was working on. But I feel like if we're looking for a Snoke connection, we might need to go the Bad Batch route.
Yeah.
But that's just my speculation right now.
Yeah, no, and that's great. Like, I just was confused as to what he was talking about. He's like, I was, doing research to prolong a man's life. And I'm like, well, who is that man? Was it Moff Gideon, or was it like...
Yeah, that's what I thought at first, too.
Well, I think it's telling that he was talking about his mother and the fact that if organ cloning had been available, she could have been saved. There's his motivation. He just gave us his entire motivation for becoming a scientist right there.
Right.
So if that's what he felt like he was doing that was the most good, then it had to be something along those lines. Yes, of preserving a man's life, involving not cloning the man directly and downloading his mind into that body or whatever the case may be. But something involving cloning that would take the existing person and keep them alive longer. And that's not what happened to Palpatine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right. You're right. So yeah, it can't be connected. So who was the? I want to know who the. I just want to know who the.
Okay, hold on. Let's not say hard. It could be connected.
Yeah.
We just don't see the connection yet.
No, it's not connected. It's not.
No,
you heard it here
now
first.
You did it. Now
you heard it here first. It's not.
I am not associating myself with that opinion. I disavow that myself.
I love you all. Okay, so then we get him kind of doing the, and it was weird, right? Like we talked about kind of the prison, like the comfy prison reestablishment, whatever. And then, they spend the rest of this episode building this relationship with one of Moff Gideon's like right-hand people, right? The lady.
Welcome to Amnesty Housing. It's paradise in comparison. This is G27, M40, G68.
Doctor.
And it was kind of a wild ride the whole episode, not quite knowing what her motivations were. It's like, oh, maybe she has changed. Maybe she's for it. And it was nice how they showed us throughout the episode that she does not have good intentions. She's like a double agent of sorts, but we don't know what she's up to. We don't know what she's up to, but we know she's getting away with it.
And why did she scramble his mind? I mean,
why'd she what? Sorry.
Why did she scrambled Pershing's mind? I mean, his mind's practically going to be goo when he wakes up. So what was that all about? He just wanted him for a lab kit? Is that it?
But before we get into that too much, I also wanted to bring out one other thing.
I want to digest this whole section.
Okay.
Yeah. But one other thing, when she's getting to know him, when they're spending time together, and they're in the big, I don't know, tourist attraction area, whatever it was.
That was cool, by the way.
Courtyard square. Yeah, really very cool. But that reference to the top of the mountain, the top of the highest point, that's from Heir to the Empire. That is talked about in that novel from 1990. Yes.
That's cool.
Now, I don't think they use the same name, but the concept of the tallest point on Coruscant and it being a tourist attraction, the city's grown up around, all of that is in those early concepts.
That's really
cool.
That's cool.
Which I was watching, I was just smiling ear to ear because it's like, okay, they're calling it Legends, but there are elements that I like that are existing in this current telling, and I thought it was great.
What is that?
That is the peak of Umate, the highest mountain on Coruscant. They say it's the only place on the entire surface where you can see the planet itself.
You're telling a new story. It's kind of like whenever you make the same dish over and over again, but you decide to use a little different spices, you know what I mean? They're using some Legend spices in this new content.
Yeah, I like it.
I like
it.
There you go. I do too. That's dope. What else? Did you guys notice anything, significant?
I thought it was really good to see how people live in the New Republic.
Yeah.
We took the time, and it wasn't pew pew and people screaming and running and for their lives because things were exploding around them. It was, how is the New Republic different than the Empire?
Right.
People are scared still, but they live day to day, and you got to see how they did.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that as a whole, the people seemed to be better in general. Then when you got down to the politics and the government, that's when the shell shock really showed through. And it was kind of interesting to wonder, at least for me, being a war history buff, was that what it was like in Parliament or in Congress, after Hitler was killed? Pretty cool to see.
Well, I tell you what, man, that's brilliant, because I was thinking, what was Germany like after World War I in the Weimar Republic, and that could have been how people were. It's like, oh, our leader left and we did some bad things and we're sorry for it. And we're not going to go back to that again. But the cracks are already there in the foundation. And eventually World War II is going to come along, right? It's all going to turn on its head. And we know that's what's going to happen to this version of the post-Empire New Republic.
It's going to literally get blown out of the sky.
Exactly. And everything in the galaxy is going to change again. So yeah, definitely vibes of that. That's cool that you brought that up.
Well, and it's like too, this is on the same topic, obviously, but I'm not really War buff or anything like that, but with her specifically, I can't remember what her name is. I think it's interesting that like they chose to use
Elia Kane.
Elia Kane? Okay. I thought it was interesting that they chose to use people that seemed like just kind of like throwaway characters, you know, to tell this other story. And they found a connection there. And I thought it was just so sneaky, just how they kind of subtly drug you along, you know, like interesting from the beginning. Like she found out what he liked and, you know, got him the biscuits and like started manipulating him from the beginning. And I'm just curious to see what her purpose is, and, you know, because she's obviously going to be kind of like the first domino that maybe helps the New Republic fall, potentially. Yeah.
What's brilliant about her character, to me anyway, from what I saw in this, so often in a series, you'll have a character with a minor role and somebody, a writer or a producer or somebody, will like that character and try to bend things to bring them back into the story. And they didn't have to do that here. Her role on Gideon's ship was very small, but in that second season where she shows up, she's a believer, right? She believes in the Empire. She's not going to be easily turned away from it. So when she shows up here, in an internment camp or a rehabilitation camp, did you immediately think, oh, okay, she's changed for the better?
No.
Yeah,
no.
I know.
Immediate Russian sleeper agent vibes immediately.
and they did a great job of trying to sell you on, yeah, okay, she is fine.
Yeah.
And even Pershing, when he first sees her, is just like, oh,
yeah.
But then he's taken in too.
Yep.
So when you get to the end of it, when she turns the dial to 11, okay, yeah. It's what we thought all along.
Or at least,
and it was
how,
so great
how
because
brutal that scene was. Just
was.
the real slow turn. That she meant it. She meant it too.
But that right there is writers knowing the character from the first time they put her on screen and keeping her in that character. Now a year later or 2 years later, when they put her back in the show again, it's not like we like that character, we're going to bring her in for something else. No, she's the
character.
Yeah.
Well, and she's going to be considered a rebel, right? So I thought initially, did I cut out?
No.
I thought initially that Ethan would hate this episode because I kind of got themes of like, because Ethan, you don't really like whenever the line between good and bad is muddled, right? Or like if it's sympathetic. I mean, go ahead.
Well, okay. So original Star Wars drew a definite line between good and evil, right? And when you try over time, it felt like they were. There's no good. There is no good. There is no bad. Everyone should try and go for the middle lane, right? So we've had this whole push for Gray Jedi. Everybody loves Gray Jedi. I didn't exactly agree with that. Okay. What we have here is a government that's trying to do the best, but there's cracks in the foundation, and we know it's going to crumble. And so I don't mind seeing depictions of people playing both sides here, because we know it's all going to get reset.
And it's in the,
and we are a long way from the rebellion and the alliance.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, thematically, it's almost like an RPG quest a little bit, like, you know, a spy espionage type, you know, vibe inside of Star Wars. So, you know, it kind of has like the Andor thing going for it, right? Is there some Andor vibes in this episode a little bit?
Strong. Yeah, not having seen Andor, there you would have totally missed when Pershing is in the office, right? His cubicle, and he's doing his filing or whatever that the guy keeps dropping off. I was getting strong Andor vibes because we get to see one of the characters in that show in a very similar, just on the other side of it. He's working under the Empire, right? But it's all very, very much the same type of work, same situation, same almost Metropolis, if I can call them the old 20s silent film. Metropolis type work environment where you're just a designation. You're
Like
just a cog in the
noir,
wheel.
Yeah.
It's very
And it did a really good job in my mind of tying Andor to this show and it being in the same universe.
Yeah.
Side
agreed.
note, you said cog. Did anyone know that the Imperial emblem was called the cogs?
No.
That totally threw me for a loop when she said that. She's like, "Oh, everyone took all the cogs down." I'm like, "Okay, that makes sense."
It.
But
that was how
that's
they
really
referenced
funny
it.
because in
That's a good
Gears of
detail.
War, it's like a similar symbol, and those are called cogs too. That's really funny. It does look like a cog.
it does look like a cog.
I'll never forget that now.
Yeah, that was
They
just
have
a
it.
weird thing that just grabbed onto my brain.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the scrambled egg scene. Poor guy. So
Poor guy, because you really got to like him.
yeah, I mean, he was like,
I did.
this guy. He was kind of like an abused puppy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, he served under Moff Gideon. That's like almost close to Vader bad.
Yeah, he's a wannabe Vader.
He is a wannabe Vader, but everyone that wears a cape and has all black armor is a wannabe Vader.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That's very true. Yeah. So
Looking at you, Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
why?
Looking at you.
You little
Why-
girl.
He's all. Why did she do that to his mind? Was it to get back at Moff
Okay.
Gideon?
So
Or what does it to get back at
He's
Persh-
escaped. No, he's escaped.
He escaped?
They've alluded. Yeah.
Yeah.
The guys around the table when they're drinking, they're talking about something's happened with Gideon. He is not where we were told he is.
Is that where Cara Dune is?
Who knows?
Because
She's not coming back.
I know she's not coming back, but what did Carl Weathers' character say?
The magistrate,
Yeah.
said she was
on-
in intelligence.
Yeah, in
right?
intelligence, they got some intelligence and they recruited her, and she came back to the Republic now or whatever. Maybe she's not coming back, but that would be cool.
But
a cool
what
story
I gleaned from
book
the
or
conversation. Yeah, what I gleaned from their conversation around the table was he was supposed to show up for trial but didn't, so he got away somehow.
I missed that
somewhere along the line. Yeah, so he's out there, and I feel like he's probably behind the scenes pulling strings. She's still loyal to him, and so in order to protect whatever information he was trying to unlock, he has ordered Pershing to be scrambled or killed or otherwise decommissioned, taken offline, so that he cannot continue that work and Gideon can do whatever he needs to do with whatever information he does have.
And there was one detail too whenever he kind of like refused to like destroy the equipment. What do you think the purpose of that was? Was that like the spark to try and like do the right thing, quote unquote? Or
Well,
was
no, it's
that
it's just the shell shock of we don't want anything Empire, like
right?
No,
Kind of like
nothing
whenever
Empire.
they tried to burn all the books a long time ago.
Yeah,
Well-
and that's why. I mean, it's very reminiscent as to why Germany outlaws anything from Nazi Germany. You cannot have a Nazi Germany, any paraphernalia of Nazi Germany in modern day Germany. It's illegal. It's like a federal crime there.
Wow.
Very
Okay.
reminiscent to that.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
The other interesting detail is that it's not just the Empire equipment that they're destroying. The guy that brings Pershing the data disks for him to collate or whatever he's doing with them in his office, his cubicle, he mentioned the New Republic fleet was being decommissioned also. They're trying to go back to a state of zero warfare in the galaxy. And all of the war material from both sides is being decommissioned and done away with. So this is a New Republic that is very much trying to go back to the 1,000 years of peace that existed in the old Republic. They're trying to go back to that. Again, which just we know where that's going to end up taking them.
Yeah. So after all that, obviously Pershing gets scrambled. We don't see him die, obviously, but you know, who knows what will happen to him in the future? Who knows what will happen to her in the future? And who knows what will happen with that particular plot line? But We cut back then after that to Mando and Bo-Katan.
He speaks the truth. These are indeed the living waters. Din Djarin, you are redeemed. Welcome, Bo-Katan of Clan Kryze. This is the way.
This is the way.
Shows up, and then basically he's there to prove, if he made it into the waters or not. And sure enough, they go under the fold, and he proves himself, and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, Bo-Katan, you're a part of this now. All this stuff, since you took it, by creed, you're a part of this now too, blah, blah, blah. So that was supposed to be, that was the whole point of everything, was for him to, redeem himself, right? It felt so weird. Thoughts?
That was the end of your sentence? It felt so weird?
I thought
okay.
I declare bankruptcy. That is
God
my.
You're here, Elijah, because man, it's like herding cats to having a conversation.
I'm just telling you, man. I'm just telling you. I just want you guys. I want to say my thought, and then you guys actually do the work.
That wasn't even a thought, but okay.
Yes, it was. It was a thought.
Okay.
Okay, go. Whatever.
To me, when Bo-Katan at the beginning of the episode questioned Din Djarin about, did you see anything down there? I agree that it could be a very good, ace in her pocket. She could use this to her advantage pretty easily, I think. But I also agree with the fact, too, that something inside of her has changed. She didn't take her helmet off the entire time. After she got out of the water, after she saw the mythosaur, she had no reason not to take off her helmet. She was in battle. I'm sure she could see a lot better in the cockpit without her helmet. But she left it on. It says something that she might realize, oh, maybe all these legends, all these myths, maybe they're not so crazy. Maybe this is the way. And after she was told she was redeemed and welcome to stay, she didn't say, oh, I'm not believing this hokey religion. I ain't staying with you guys. I ain't keeping my helmet on. If she truly didn't believe it, she's that type of person to where she'd just walk out. Why is she not walking out?
Yeah.
I'm really interested to find out if this is Disney's way to give Bo-Katan back the Darksaber.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. Everything from the beginning of the episode spoke to me that, okay, she's trying to figure out a way that she can parlay this into power grab or get herself back into a position of power. Even when she shows up in the conclave, she's looking around at all of these people, and she's lost all of her people, right? She lost her power base. Here's a whole group of people that are zealots that she could use, right?
Sure.
And so as she walks in there, you can probably still think Bo-Katan is still trying to figure out a way to come up as a leader, come out on top with this. But yeah, when the armorer tells her, you're welcome to stay, you're redeemed, and hey, you can leave anytime you want. And the fact that she doesn't turn around and walk right back out and stands there with her helmet on, and all the people coming up and patting her on the armor and everything and welcoming her back. Yeah, this is not a politician with the wheels turning on how she can get back into power. This is somebody that's actually thinking, I saw a mythosaur. I've seen this conclave in action. Maybe these people aren't as crazy as I thought they were. And you're right. It's going to be so interesting to see what changes happened and how she carries it forward in the remaining episodes of the season.
I also think it's a way to keep her character alive. I mean, if they keep her with her helmet on, they can run her as a voice actor. They don't have to pay her for in-public appearances, and the character can live for a long time. It has the Darth Vader 60. Effect.
I mean, it's worked so well for Boba Fett, for years. Oh, wait.
Oh, here we go.
I had the opposite reaction of you guys. I didn't find it wholesome at all. I found it weird. Because and I don't know, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but just the fact that within moments, like they were enemies, you know, and I guess Din had come to save them, you know, a couple episodes prior, but I wasn't thinking about that in the moment. I don't know, like I just didn't. It seemed like not a very big deal, but I guess if that is the way, that's how it should be. But like all those people that didn't know the inner, you know, all those Mandalorians that didn't know the inner workings of the relationship between the armorer and Din, all of a sudden they're just like blindly like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess they're good again. Okay, like whatever. I don't know. It just makes them seem kind of like simple, and maybe that's the point.
I don't think it's simplicity. I think it's honor. I mean, you look at Vizsla. Vizsla was the first one to meet Din Djarin out when he came back. Vizsla doesn't like Din Djarin. I mean, they fought in Boba Fett, almost killed each other.
Yeah, but I remember that.
As soon as he saw that, oh, okay, maybe he has evidence that he actually did honor himself, and then, you know, proves himself, you know, in front of all his peers, I don't think that's simplicity. I think that's just honor. That's a code.
Yeah, I didn't see that part, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm just way off. Go ahead.
Hey, the way this season has gone so far, next episode we may have it just all turned on our heads.
Yeah, that's what's awesome.
And it shift into a completely different
game.
And
I think it might be good to like table our prediction episode for like whenever this season is done, and like what the broader scope is, you know, moving forward. But overall, like I really enjoyed this episode, and like I want to watch it again. I'm sad I didn't get to watch it a few more times before we had this discussion, but I thought it was really good. I thought it set up a lot of. I think it set up a lot more potential, you know, and more like question boxes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does worry me that there was a lot of content in this third episode that needs to be fulfilled, I feel like, in 5 episodes, and it doesn't feel like enough time. So I'm a little worried about that. If they do it in like a to be continued, like starts season 4, I mean, I guess that's fine, but that's not ideal for any of us. Like, let's finish a story. And I'm worried they're not going to be able to do it in 5 episodes.
Let me ask you this, Middlesworth. Have you been disappointed in the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian?
No, but...
Okay, well, stop right there. Okay. This is the way.
Okay.
He did the same thing to me.
Yes, sir.
He did the same thing to me. Overall,
no, it's you know, really this third season is going to be kind of this is going to test the mettle of the showrunners, of just how well do they know this character. Mm-hmm. Well, we know they know the character very well in The Mandalorian. And they know him so well, they were able to actually inject him into another series, and it worked really good. And then here we got kind of that pause. It reminded me of Book of Boba Fett, where we leave Boba's story and we go follow the Mandalorian for a couple of episodes, right? Well, here we see a lot of action at the beginning, and then we have a very quiet, story-driven, detailed, dense episode with what was going on with Pershing and Kane. And I think it worked extremely well. I think the showrunners know what they're doing here. And the next 5 episodes are going to be a roller coaster in all the best ways.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. And I'm not disappointed with what I've seen so far. I think I'm more setting myself up to be disappointed, I think.
You're like Gabe.
Yeah, I guess.
You're like Gabe. You just, the anxiety comes up and you think nothing can be good. And this is why we can't have nice things. Yeah. People like to, but, you know.
Ridiculous. I'm just asking all the questions. All the questions. You know, they're trying to.
This is why we can't have nice
listeners. The 10 listeners that we have, I'm gonna have one of their perspectives for sure. No, just kidding. Yeah, no, I thought it was a good episode, and I'm not really like. I mean, I'm obviously like excited. It's nice to look forward to something week to week. Whoa, did you see my dog? Look at him, dude. He was like trying to lay on his back. I'm excited to have something week to week. You know what I mean? but I'm not like chomping at the bit for this season yet. I'm hoping like that I get to where like that's all I'm thinking about again. You know what I mean? Kind of like last season where it was like week to week. It's like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch the next episode. You know what I mean?
The Mythosaur didn't do that for you?
It did, but I don't know. Maybe it's because dude, I'm telling you, like rewatching an episode, like after you think you've got it, and then rewatching it one more time. Like I've watched both episodes at least 3 times, and it's like, I don't know. It's easier once the new wears off. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's easier to just see it kind of for what it is a little bit. The Mythosaur was cool, obviously, but you said it last week yourself. You said the episode was filler.
I mean, it was, but it wasn't bad content.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, but to answer your question, like, no, the Mythosaur didn't do it for me.
Okay,
he's blowing it out of proportion. That's not what I said.
I'm obviously going to be screaming at my radio when I listen to that second episode.
Yeah,
that's what he said, man. He said it was glorified filler. That's all it's ever going to be.
You're going to have to give me your number, Middlesworth, so I can text you if my anger.
That's okay. You can write it down in a journal.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't want your hate texts.
Yeah.
I literally said in that last episode that I don't want to be a fan that like can never be pleased, because I am enjoying what I'm watching.
Yeah.
I just care less. Like I just care less about what's coming next at this very moment. And maybe it's because it's something new. Now, whenever I saw the ship sequence, because I had no idea that we were going to see that, it was like, oh my God, this is freaking awesome. Like it was a very nice, diverse episode. We got a little bit of action, got some, like political intrigue and some mystery. And, it definitely makes me wonder, like, okay, where are we going next? Because I thought, like, literally this was going to take an entire season to do what literally happened,
I was sitting there, I was thinking at it when the credits were rolling. I'm just like, as excited as we were about the Purgle in the first episode.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here thinking, Ezra who? It's like all of our predictions for, who's going to show up in this. We have no clue. I mean, it is wide open. They could take us anywhere.
Yeah. Oh,
speaking of Ezra, have you seen that someone's been credited to play Ezra in the new Ahsoka show? If you type in Ahsoka cast, someone pops up for Ezra Bridger and Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader.
Ooh,
that's what comes up on Google at least. So that's rumor. Let's chew on that for a little while.
Yeah, very nice.
I got time to think about it. Between this show, Bad Batch, and Picard season 3, man,
Picard season 3 is so good. Don't even get me started. It's so good. This is a Star Wars show.
This is a Star Wars show. You guys need to get on that.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah,
that's going to be a whole other podcast.
That's a whole other thing. Fine. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Season 3 is great. Go watch it.
Hey, shut up. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Let us know what you think down in the comments down below about the show. If you have any predictions that you would like us to read on the show, you can definitely let us know down below, as I said before. Ethan, do you want to be able to be found?
Geekly Retrospect on Facebook right now. Watch that space. That's all I'll say right now.
Watch that space. That's all he'll say right now.
Yeah.
Elijah, nobody likes you, man.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've missed his voice.
I'm
going to go download that second episode now.
And he's going to try his hardest not to scream at me over the radio.
Okay. Do you want to be found, Elijah?
Yeah, creep to your left on all socials.
There you have it. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, say goodbye, gents.
Goodbye.
Farewell.
And
Avita saying goodbye. Yeah. Woo, Mandalorian.